in Boscov's, and Phyllis loved Boscov's. I was in Boscov's yesterday, and I was looking around for socks, and I saw gold-toed socks. Remember those, Dottie?
Oh, yeah.
And Phyllis loved gold-toed socks. And I was thinking about her, put the gold-toed socks. Well, she went down, and they had a sale on gold-toed socks. And they were 99, which is a pretty good sale for those socks. 99 cents for the socks. Well, she walked in and they said, well, these are $1.29. And she says to the girl, no, they're not. They're 99 cents. And I can prove it. I said, Phyllis, what are you going to do? She goes looking, opens all the drawers at the place. And the girl's standing there looking at her, opens all the drawers and takes all the socks out. And by damned, they were 99 cents. And that came back to me yesterday. Because I was looking, I thought, there's the gold-toed socks. They're not 99 now, but they were then. She said, and then held them. See, I told you, she said. 99 cent socks.
All right.
How about anyone at this table? Shirley? Or Becky? Okay.
I got something too. Yeah, Shirley's got a good one.
Phyllis was my sister from another mother. And Phyllis and I had a really, I don't know, great relationship really, but there were times when I took the blunt of it. And a couple of other times, well, there's a time that I remember I was calling her from my car. And I said, Philly, what are you doing? I don't want any company, got it? I said, what are you doing? She goes, nothing, and that's the way I want it. And so I was on my way to her place, so I said, well, okay. So I get to her place, I knock on the door. She goes, you don't listen, do you? I said, just open the door. Well, I ended up staying like 2 or 3 hours. And I'm so glad you came. And I don't know what I'd do without you. And I said, yeah, I know. But there were many times that Phyllis and I sang in the choir together at St. Anne's. And I told Ron, I said, you don't have any idea how abusive she is in the choir loft. He goes, what are you talking about? And I said, I would be singing a duet with her, and she would go, you're singing off key. I said, and your hearing's bad. So I said, there was never a dull moment in our relationship. We would always sneak out for an ice cream, and I knew it, and don't tell Ron, don't tell Phyllis. I won't, only because I'm selfish. And the last thing I wanted to share was, she was in Florida with me, and we were at my daughter's house, and we went to the beach. Well, we're all putting on sunscreen. And Phyllis goes, oh, I don't need any of that. And I go, yeah, you do. She goes, I have Mediterranean skin. And I said, what difference does that make? The sun burns any kind of skin. Well, that night, I said, how's your Mediterranean skin? Don't talk to me. But anyway, Phyllis and I, we got really close when Oscar passed, and my husband and I, her brother, had her over every weekend, you know, trying to keep her going, and I'd get her dressed up for Halloween, and we'd go all dressed up and costume or whatever, and go hear her brother play, and then when my husband passed away, we were all we had. We would take trips down to Ronnie's and Grace's, probably on the average of once a month, and but we had a great relationship. I loved her with my whole heart. She was like my other sister, and never treated her any differently. So I have so many memories. I just can't remember them all, but they're there.
Okay.
Tara.
Here comes a good one.
All right, I just want to share this little story. Phyllis and I, we lived at 5 Riverside Towers, and her and I hung out together when I first moved there. I didn't know her that well, but I got to meet her after, and everybody was getting us mixed up. They were calling me Phyllis, they were calling her Shirley. So one day, somebody got off the elevator, came over and took my hand. They said, I gotta tell you, you sing beautiful. I said, what? I don't sing. Oh yeah, I heard you in church singing. You sing beautiful. Oh, you got me mixed up with somebody else, because I'll tell you, I don't sing. I really don't sing. She said, oh, really? I said, oh, maybe you're thinking about Phyllis. I said, Phyllis sings. And that was one thing, but from then on, everybody was getting us mixed up. No matter where we go, they'd call me Phyllis, they'd call her Shirley. Everybody said, are you sisters? Are you related? You look so much alike and everything. I couldn't see it, but you know, people were saying it. And one day she came in the front door and she had a Baker's cyst in back of her knee and it broke or whatever. I wasn't around. And they got the chair, put her in the chair, and they wheeled her upstairs. Well, this cleaning lady was there, and she saw it. So one day I went down in the lobby, and she says to me, how's your knee? I said, my knee? Nothing's wrong with my knee. Oh yeah, they put you in a chair, and they wheeled you away because you had something wrong with your knee. I said, that wasn't me. I didn't have nothing wrong with my knee. And then I said, oh, Phyllis. Phyllis. So that's it. They always got us mixed up, but we were together so much, you know. I could understand where that was coming from. So that's it. My memories of Phyllis.
Many more than that. Anybody else?
Anybody here?
Yeah, what you say? Other than,
I'm a friend of Phyllis's too. We lived together at the Towers, and I've just never met anybody like her. She was just so sweet and kind and giving, and never had a bad word for anybody, and was also extremely naive, which was the fun part of what I had. I used to pull so many things on her because she, you know, it didn't bother her because she didn't think that I was doing anything funny. But I was. We'd be in the pool, and I'd go in the dressing room and hide her robe. And she'd come in and, oh, geez, where's my robe? Did I forget it? You know, and of course, I had it hidden behind the toilet or something. And one day I filled up her pockets with paper towels. And, you know, she comes in and she finds it, and she just says, gee, well, what is this, you know? Never thinking it was me, which made it even funnier. And we just went on and on with that for I don't know how long. And one very sweet thing, we would go upstairs on the elevator together many times. I was on the 5th floor and she was on the 8th. And we would be talking in the elevator until it stopped at my floor, and I'd go to get out. And she'd look at me and she'd say, I love you. And that's what I'm always going to remember.
Daddy?
That was beautiful.
was it?
Phyllis and I were friends for a long time. We went to the same church and we did sing in the choir. She always sat in back of me and she always fixed my hair in the back because I had that dead hair. And so I could depend on her to look good. But she always looked like $1 million. She dressed so well. And one time she went shopping with me, and I said, Phyllis, I can never find anything. She said, oh, well, we'll fix that. And so we went shopping, and she said, try this, try that. I had so many bundles when I left, I couldn't believe it. We do miss Phyllis. We were a group of 4, and we had lost our husbands around the same time. So we leaned on each other and just had the best time. We went to New York and
Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
we
different
had a good
places, and we just had a great time. She was a wonderful lady.
Oh, yes.
Anybody else?
How about at this table? Anybody? Joey?
You put me on the spot.
I'm sorry.
But that's okay. I'm gonna go back to about 1950-ish. My brother Marty married this beautiful lady, Shirley Stanton. And naturally, we didn't have much money back then. Nobody had money for a hall. So the reception was at my father and mother's place on Squires Avenue, north side, in a garage. And Tony and Pat were there playing, and Phyllis was singing with her mother, and it was a fabulous time. My father would be chasing my mother around like you cannot believe. It was fantastic. Now I'm going to go to January 3rd. Sorry, dear. 1970, where I married this beautiful lady here, and our reception was at the Enwell House, because when I courted her, I would always, we would dance, and we would go out there, out to dinner and dance, and so we got married there. And I had Phyllis do the singing with Tony and Pat. That was fantastic, really was. Now, I'm gonna go back not too far, I hope I'm correct in this, 1995-ish, my father's birthday and Phyllis's father at our house. It was a great celebration of her, listening to her sing, and that was one of the last times the two brothers got together. So, and she did a fabulous job. Thank you.
Okay, let's see, where we go on? Oh, how about Tim?
Yeah, so I got an interesting one. I wasn't expecting this. I was trying to look away, but so years ago, not even, well, maybe, I don't know, 15 years ago, when Ron and Grace were living in Virginia, right? And Phyllis was there, right? And I think it was, well, I have two stories actually when I think about it. One happened on Easter morning, right? Where Phyllis wanted to go to church, and we were all getting ready to go to church, but we were sitting at the table having Bloody Marys. And it was around... It was 1 o'clock. No, it was like 10 o'clock. 11 o'clock. It was like 10 o'clock. But me and Ron and Greg, everybody, we had full intentions of going to church that day because there was a 12 o'clock mass or something like that, right? So Phyllis was getting irritated thinking, oh, they're just going to sit there and drink all day and, and we're going to miss Easter Mass. And so we're all sitting there at the table, and Phyllis comes down the stairs, and she goes, what do you guys do? What's everybody doing? And we're saying, well, we're going to get ready to go to Mass. And she was like really irritated. She goes, well, I don't know what you people do. And I said, well, we normally do like, small animal sacrifice before we go to church. Another one was when we were also down in Herndon at the house in Virginia, and Phyllis had made spaghetti and meatballs, and the spaghetti and meatballs were sitting in there cooking in the slow cooker, right? And it was like kind of in the morning. My son Connor is there. Connor's a big boy, and he likes to eat and stuff like that. But I guess there was another couple that was actually coming later in the afternoon. What are their names? The Lagardes. The Lagardes were coming later in the afternoon, and my whole family was there, including my son Connor. and kind of like opened up the slow cooker, looked in there and saw some meatballs, and took a fork and thinking, I'm gonna have myself a meatball. That's it right there. So kind of like stabs the meatballs while ready to eat it, and Phyllis goes, Connor, that's for company. I guess we were family, so it wouldn't really count.
Yeah, so I want to follow up. Tim, that was a perfect segue. So when my mom, and I really can't translate this, but my mom didn't understand or wasn't familiar with something. Her expression was, I don't know what you people do. For her, it was just a very innocent, like, I don't know when you are going to go to church, or I don't know this, but it always came out as, I don't know what you people do. And it tended to offend anybody who she said that to, although she didn't mean it that way. So a lot of people got offended. And the favorite story I remember, which is similar to what Tim was saying, was she was in the pool at 5 Riverside Towers, and she was telling me that the ladies got mad at her. And I said, why? She said, well, there was a Jewish lady in the pool, and I asked her if she was getting a Christmas tree, and the Jewish lady says, no, I'm not getting a Christmas tree, we don't celebrate Christmas. And my mom goes, what do you mean you don't celebrate Christmas? So the lady, and they're in the pool, they're like, just kind of like, and so, so the lady, just explained that, people of the Jewish faith, don't celebrate the coming of Jesus Christ. So, explained that they don't celebrate Christmas and therefore don't have a tree. And then, of course, my mom said, well, I don't know what you people do. And the lady said, you mean you Jew people? And my mom goes, no, I don't know what you people do. And, and my mom told me later, she said, gee, the lady sounded offended. I just didn't know, and then she would like say, Ron, do you know they don't celebrate Christmas? I said, yeah, when she was, and actually, another funny story, which I still remember now, was we went to see Michael Feinstein, who's a phenomenal entertainer, piano player. We got tickets, and it was wonderful. And a friend of mine got us backstage passes to meet him, and it was really cool. So, and he's just the guy is very, very charming, fantastic entertainer, and she met him, and I got pictures, so it was like a really great moment. And so after we left, so we're leaving, I says, Mom, we're leaving the venue, and I said, Mom, wait on this bench, I'll go get the car. So I go get the car, and I pull up, and she's on the bench talking to this lady, and I thought she was hurt or something, because she had this terrified look on her face. She's like this, and there's this lady talking to her, and I actually got out and says, hi, you okay? And Mom goes, do you know he's gay? He's gay, Ron. I said, yeah. So, says, I don't know, would you want to have like a date with him or something? It was just, it was just the innocent look of when she heard something that she didn't know, she would always be like surprised, and she never had a judgment on anything, but it would just be like, it's just like, I don't know who you people do, or, and so, it was just great, and, she always couldn't figure out why she got in trouble like that, or why somebody said that, and another thing was that, every time we'd get together, she would say, like, especially at Thanksgiving, like, I don't know if I'll be here another year.
Oh my God,
I don't know. I may not be here next year, or maybe next year. And a lot of times, sad to say, she would say she wouldn't be here next year. It would be somebody else who wasn't here next year. And Rosemary's brothers passed away. And at one point I said, Mom, I think you better stop. It seems when you say you're not going to be here next year, somebody else is going to be here next year. And I certainly don't want to be. So I said, just don't say that. We all hope to, obviously we all hope to be here next year. So that's a couple of my funny stories. And I'd like to go. Shall I go over there? Okay. And make sure I don't miss anybody. So.
You should go once in your
Okay, so I have a story. If you think about, I guess it's like a ride or die, right? That was my grandmother for me, right? Ride or die. So I was in DC and I get a phone call from my dad being like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "Well, that's really weird." I was like, "I'm in DC, I'm teaching." He goes, "No, FaceTime me right now." I was like, "Wait, what?" He said, "Are you in the Dominican Republic?" And I said, "No." He's like, "Are you sure?" And I was like, "Let me FaceTime you right now." And so then he FaceTime me and he puts the camera at Grandma. Grandma goes, "Oh." And I go, "Are you guys okay?" Like, I was like, "What are y'all doing up in Binghamton right now?" So then, okay, my dad's like, "I gotta go, let me call you back," right? So what was happening before they called me, my grandma got a phone call from someone, a woman, saying, "Hey, it's Veronica, I'm in the Dominican Republic, I'm with Sarah, who's my best friend." And she was there on her honeymoon, right? Facebook, people can take your information. And my grandma goes, she gets a phone call, terrified, and they were like, "We need $1,000 right now," because I was like, "Grandma, I'm in the hospital, I really need to get out, can you please send $1,000, right? Did my grandma call anyone? No. And I'm on the phone, not me, saying, "Please don't say anything, I need the money." She goes to Walmart immediately, wires $1,000. Doesn't call my dad, my mom, doesn't call me, just does it immediately. Gets in her car, wires $1,000, right? So then my mom or my grandma calls my dad and is like, "Hey, there's something going on with Veronica, just not a big deal, she can't just come over after work," right? I'm in the hospital in the Dominican Republic. Not with a broken nose, right? Not a big deal. So then my dad goes over and was like, "Hold on, let's stop." So she was ready, they called again, and they were being greedy, right? So then the second thing was like, "Oh, I need a flight back to Washington, D.C. I need another $1,000. Thankfully, my dad was there listening at this point, and my dad called me. They saw I was in D.C. teaching. I wasn't there, so my grandma was like, "We gotta go. We gotta wire another $1,000, right?" And my dad goes, No. Thankfully, because they heard my grandma and she was so willing to give up that money for me, they didn't accept the first payment, so they were to stop it because they were waiting for the second to accept it. So, ride or die, right? No questions, nothing. Didn't even want to tell you, right? That I was in trouble, wasn't gonna do anything
As soon
for
as I
me.
heard about it, I flipped.
Yes.
I took her right down the next day and got her money back.
But yeah, so that's just the one thing with my grandma. Anything I could do, she'd always, would do anything for me. And the one thing I take from my grandmother is just her love for the simple things in life, right? Whether it was having dinner and having dessert, it was the highlight of her day, or whether it was, going on in a car for a beautiful drive. She loved it. She appreciated the small things in life. So I'm starting that ever since she passed. Every day I'm just excited for the little things in life. Her biggest thing, waking up, having that cup of coffee, right? Smelling that cup of coffee and just relaxing and enjoying the beautiful weather. So, but yeah, ride or die for sure.
Before I give this to Sue, I have to run the story. So from my perspective, I was at work, and my mom called me, and she goes, "Ron, I need to talk to you." She goes, "Okay." She goes, "Yeah, I need you to come over here after work because there's something serious." I said, "Well, if it's serious, tell me right now." She goes, "No, wait till you come home I'll wait till you get done after work. And so I was like, okay. So I'm thinking like, so I didn't know. So I was all worried. So I got out of work. I went in there, and so as I walk into her apartment, she's on the phone, talking to this imposter
From Nigeria, probably.
Yeah, from Nigeria, getting ready to wire another $1,000 to Costa Rica. And so I sit there, and she goes, Ron, your daughter's in Costa Rica. We need to go to MoneyGram right now and wire $1,000. So and she made me go to jail. So I immediately got up, and I was going to go to MoneyGram, and I'm by the door, and suddenly I went like, wait a second. So I'm there, and so then I went like, I sit down, and she goes, what are you doing? Your daughter's in Costa Rica. Come on, we gotta go to MoneyGram, And then I said, well, did you call her? She said, well, you can't call her. She's in Costa Rica. And I said, okay, so you can call her. So that's where we began calling Veronica, and we wanted to FaceTime Veronica just to make sure that I could show my mom. And I called Veronica, said, Veronica, can we FaceTime? She goes, I'm getting in the shower.
Oh, yeah,
I go,
I'm so tired too.
I go, I want to FaceTime with you. She goes, I'm getting in the shower, you freak. I said, no, we just want to see your face. But the funny part was that, so after all that, I said, Mom, why didn't you call me? This was serious. Why didn't you call me work? She said, I don't want to bother you at work. You're busy, you got meetings and stuff. I don't want to be calling you, say your daughter's in a Costa Rican jail. I said, that's true. That's like, yeah, thanks for not bothering me. I have work to do. So I'm going to turn this over to Sue. And Sue, please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, I'm Sue McMahon. I'm Oscar's daughter, and have known Phyllis for many years, and she's been a second mom to me. In fact, I can probably say I had 3 years between my mom, Phyllis, and then my Aunt Ann, who were contemporaries, and my aunt passed away a few years before Phyllis did. And I think it was after Christmas where she said, well, I might not be here next year, so there's another one for the list. When I was young, my parents divorced when I was about 5 or 6, and then my father got Phyllis, and they fell in love, and the rest is history, many, many years later. I didn't get to see my dad a lot as a young person, and I think Ron and I were talking about this, that it was a different time, and you didn't have the blended families that you have today. So it was hard, but I would say I got to know my dad and Phyllis more when I went away to college at Penn State. My dad would come down and visit every couple months, and sometimes Phyllis came with him. But after he passed, Phyllis and I got very close. I have a lake house in Susquehanna County, Pennsylvania, so we would come up there over the holidays, and she would always come down many times with Becky, or with Ronnie Grace and others for the holidays, and we'd have a big New Year's Eve party at the lake house. But a couple of stories that just come to mind when I think of Phyllis. My youngest daughter is now a sophomore in college, but the very first Broadway show she ever saw in New York was Annie Get Your Gun, and Phyllis was with us. And we knew someone that worked at the theater, so we also got like a little backstage tour of the orchestra section and all those things. So it was a really special memory for my younger daughter. Years later, my father's nephew was getting married in North Carolina. This was about 2013. And Phyllis wanted to go to the wedding, and we did too. So I bought plane tickets. We all headed up, we're in a hurry, always late for the flight, to Newark Airport. We get to the United counter, we're checking in, getting our tickets, and the woman can't find our reservation. She can't, and I'm telling her the flight number. She said, we don't have that flight number. I said, what do you mean? That's not possible. Well, come to find out, I had booked the tickets out of Philly. So now we were definitely going to miss the flight. So we all hopped in the car, and Pat drove, and myself and Emma was with us, my youngest daughter. Drove 10 hours to North Carolina, made it to the wedding, had a wonderful weekend. Of course, Phyllis and Emma and I got to fly back, and poor Pat had to drive the car all the way back. But it was a really nice thing to be there with her and to see my dad's side of the family with her. What I love most about Phyllis, similar to what Veronica said, is her generosity of spirit and how anyone she was close to, she treated like family. She called me her daughter. She called my daughters her granddaughters. And that was very, very special because I lost both my parents when they were much younger than she. So I miss her dearly. I wish I could have been here. We watched the live stream of the Mass, but I miss her dearly, especially at this time of year when we would always get together. And one last little funny story, Pat was up for the weekend, and actually my younger daughter Emma and her friend Lana were up as well. I think I had to travel somewhere for work or something. But as he always did, he went up to Binghamton and picked up Phyllis at 5 Riverside Plaza to go to lunch with the two girls, and they went to the number 5, which was a nice treat. They all sat down to order their meals, and they were ordering, and my daughter's little friend Alana said, "I'll have the lobster." That wasn't lobster. But Phyllis was actually so kind, and she kind of talked to Alana a little bit and convinced her that she really wouldn't like lobster. She should pick something else on the menu.
Well, here's the kicker though. She said, I said, "Have you ever had it?" And she said, "No." And I'm looking at the price tag, $25, $30, and I'm like, I don't think you need to learn Phyllis with this.
So anyway, we all have our wonderful stories, and we all miss her dearly, and it's so nice to be here today with all of you to celebrate her life. And I think one of those trips she made to New York City with her friend was when I was working at Macy's, and we all went to lunch together that one time, so I remember that dear memory as well. Thank you.
Let's see, can I pick on anybody? Steve? My best friend Steve, we've been friends since high school.
My wife right now is saying, "Don't give him a microphone." so I met Ron in I think 10th grade at Johnson City High School. So we've known each other for a long time, and just through that relationship, I got to meet Phyllis, and just go up to her house. She treated me. She used to call me her other son, and quietly she would tell me who she liked better, but she treated me like a son. I'd go up to the house, and Ron would call me up. "Hey, why don't you stop up?" And I love to go up there because there was always food. And I grew up in an Irish family, so we were meat and potatoes. But go up there and have some great meals, and she always had beer, even though I was 16. So she always had beer. They treated us good. She never, she was always kind to me. The only time I think she got mad at us when we burned up her pink flamingo, firing off rockets through its neck. So she goes, I think we finally fessed up. That was us. But no, she was a great person, and through the years, and one of my good memories was when she came up to my house a couple of years ago. I always told Ron, I had Ron and Grace come up, and we'd cook out and said, bring your mother. And her and Becky showed up the one time. They were someplace, and hey, we're coming up, and they came up, and they were just on my deck and having a good time. But she was fantastic. I'd go over, and she was at 5 Riverside Towers, and eat, and always a nice meal. But she was great, and she was so proud of her family too. I mean, everybody, the kids, the relatives, everybody, the cousins, and all that. And she was so proud of everybody, and she was just a good spirit. I never knew her to be in a bad mood. She was always great. So the one thing I do want to, I know this is about Phyllis, but one thing I do want to remember is those who aren't here anymore. Oscar, he treated me fantastically when I went up there like a son. Charlie, Uncle Pat, Uncle Tony, those other, I met them all through knowing Phyllis, and it was just a great group of people to know. They were fantastic. So that's it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Steve, Mom liked having friends that could help move things, and so they would say like, "Could you have Steve come up because we need to move this table to the end," which was fine. It was just a table. But Mom had one of those big shoe racks that hung down, and it had all the high heels, all the heels pointed out. So she would ask us to move a table, but she didn't think to move the shoe rack. So when you moved the table up the attic, if you backed up. So a couple of times, I think one time I said, "Man, I just got stabbed with a bunch of high heel shoes there." So, but thank you, Steve.
Ron.
We got someone over here.
I'll walk to you. will say I at least have met some of you in person and or in photos, because one, the Emmerichs always had a whole bunch of family over in Herndon, and or a ton of photos. And I mean, you see everything on the screen. They're very good at just like capturing the moments of every single holiday out. It just like, it was always a special event. Family was in town, we're having people over. So just a little bit of backstory. I met Veronica in 2nd grade. They had just moved to Virginia, I think like in May or early June. You were only in 2nd grade for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then it was like summer.
We moved this summer, we got to right after Thanksgiving.
Well, it felt very short. But I just, to speak to the generosity of spirit and just like always walking in the door and feeling like family. And that, I love my family dearly, but we had a very different type of dynamic and relationship. So whenever I came to the Emmerichs, one, Phyllis was always there, because even if someone was just like singing on the stage for a 5th grade like choir concert, Phyllis was, she was there for the majority of like life events and memories that like you would think back on. So she was just always there, and I didn't really, I was pretty far away from my own grandmother, distance-wise, so I never really saw her until I got older and was able to like drive a car. But she was my example of like a grandmother, and just that she was so welcoming. She was, to Veronica's point earlier, like ride or die, she was always there and just wanted to have a conversation, wanted to know more about you, had all the stories in the world, and of course the night usually ended up with her singing and Ron playing piano and Thomas playing guitar, and I don't, like, some of my most strongest memories are with the Emmerichs and with Phyllis singing. And I just, first of all, her fashion, her boisterous kind of like, well, what's the big deal? What's going on? I always remember it was either she would stay in Thomas's room or Veronica's room, and she would always come down the stairs in Herndon, and she would always kind of like, she would ask the question at the top of the stairs, like she was announcing to everyone that she was up and like ready to do stuff. And just a lot of fond memories, and I never felt like I wasn't part of the family. I felt like I don't know, like I was like, Veronica, you know, there are a lot of cousins here that aren't actually cousins, but I felt like a family member of the Emmerichs, and Phyllis was a huge pillar in that system. So I think of her fondly and often, especially when Sinatra is singing. And yeah, I just, cheers to Phyllis, cheers for her love of life and family. And I'm just very grateful to be a part of this day and to be able to remember Phyllis with all of you. So, thank you.
Can you hold the camera?
Before you turn it over to John, I want to introduce a couple of people here. This very good friend of mine, his wife Dennis Martin, fantastic trombonist, and his wife Mary. Back when my mom passed away and COVID, Dennis was kind enough to be a pallbearer along with Steve, Joe Kacmarik, and also Vic Merrill, and so it was nice to have him. But the story about Dennis and Vic Merrill play trumpet. They play at the St. Thomas Aquinas where my mom sang. So, and every Sunday when I go to church, my mom would say, "You know that guy? He plays in the band, right?" I go, "Yeah, that's Dennis Martin." "You know the trumpet player, right?" I go, "Yeah, that's Vic Merrill." And that was fine. But then it would be like every every Sunday. I do the same thing. Do you know the trombonist? I say, yeah, that's Dennis Part. So Dennis, thank you for being pallbearer, and my mom really enjoyed you and Vic. And
You're always a happy spirit and wonderful voice.
and you're that guy who plays in the band. You're the trombone player. Yeah, every Sunday. So, John?
Yes, beautiful.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say that when Ron and Grace moved south, Tim and Rosemary went south, they both raised fantastic families, that the Momfords were my family up here. Because my mother was in a nursing home and she wasn't doing really good. And every time there was a Thanksgiving, a Christmas, New Year's, my graduation party from SUNY Binghamton, they all did it, And Phyllis, and a lot of you probably know that, and I know this is a weird thing, but I'm an alcoholic. And Phyllis, when I get sober for a while, Phyllis would always say, he's doing it, And it would last for a while, and then something would upset me, and I'd do that, Well, I've got 15 years clean and sober. Her brother Tony, I'm alive because of her brother Tony, because he kept me busy. I set up his drums for practice. I set up his drums for jobs with Mason Warrington. I was doing the videotapes. Mike and Larry would do a double show. It's just like a really great time doing those videos. And Phyllis was always there doing the tickets and saying hi to everybody. And this is my brother, and so that's all I got. Hi, Bert.
Excuse me.
Hi, I'm Murph. I'm a friend of Grace's. I've known Phyllis since before either one of us were married. 1979, something like that. We were together. But my kids called Phyllis Grandma Phyllis. They were all very close. And Veronica and Thomas are still close with my kids. In fact, Veronica was in Katie's wedding a couple years ago. Talked to her about it. Again. In fact, she said call you.
Yeah,
we call her.
Yes, I was like, immediately showed up, I was like, I'm going to call Katie.
I just have a quick story. My kids, and this is odd, they used to love to eat frozen vegetables. Frozen.
Oh.
No, weird. But I was okay with it, right?
Lima beans was
And
a
lima
real
beans, yes.
word. I was like, frozen lima beans?
So we ran into Phyllis at the grocery store one time, and they were all excited to see Grandma Phyllis, and Phyllis says, well, what are you getting? And we're just shopping, and Grandma Phyllis, would you buy us some frozen vegetables?
I saw your post.
That's all.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. No, I loved Phyllis. In fact, she came to our house.
She came out to her mom's house in Elmira.
Yeah,
they got to be a little bit, over the years, a few times, not like real, but they're the same age. Her mom and Murph's mom just passed away too last year. Okay. So.
Yep. So anyway.
Awesome.
Next.
So I'm Grace and Ron's sister-in-law, married to Tim. And I've known Phyllis.
I don't want to get in anybody's way.
Yeah, as long as Grace is there.
And she still doesn't know what you people do.
Well, I did say on that Easter Sunday, I said, don't worry, Phyllis, I will go to church with you. I was not drinking Bloody Marys. But, Phyllis was a dear, and she came to our house like every Thanksgiving, most Christmases. Even when Grace lived in Texas, she would come to our house for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and then Phyllis would come down for Christmas. And so I spent many holidays with Phyllis at my house. And I had my idea of some Phyllis-isms which, you know, my husband said two of them, and one of them was the meatball thing, and I don't know who you people are. The other one was, I think I'm gonna eat some of that because I don't have that where I live.
Oh.
I'm like, Phyllis, I think they have
can't
it.
get that at home. It would be like,
I can't get that at home. I'm like, I think you can. But she'd always be like, I can't get that at home, so I'm gonna have some of it here. I'm like, okay. But I think the thing I remember lots of things about Phyllis. One was that when I went to visit Grace, she would never watch our children. Okay, Grace had children, I had children. We wanted to go out as a couples, the younger people together. But Phyllis would never, and this is when Oscar was alive, and Phyllis would never watch our children because she didn't want to miss a party. She's like, if you're going out, I'm going with you. So it's like, well, that was a bummer. We had to find people to watch the children.
Now we gotta pay somebody.
We gotta pay somebody or whatever, you know, wasn't the same. But she was, you know, she was very close to our family, and she, you know, my parents passed away when my children were young, and my husband's mom was, you know, not really Grace's mom, not so really with it. When my children were younger, so they always called her Grandma Phyllis, of course, and of course Grandma Phyllis came to every single event, and we always saw her at Grace and Ron's. But I think the thing was Phyllis always made everybody feel special.
Yeah.
Like everybody was special. I just said to my granddaughter, I go, you should say something about Grandma Phyllis.
I did too.
She's shy though. But
She's gonna sing a song.
I go, you know, Grandma Phyllis would say, oh, Genevieve, you have such a beautiful voice.
Oh, yeah.
Or,
She was
you're
so
so
impressed with
pretty.
Genevieve.
Or,
She's
you
gonna
know,
sing a song, actually.
And, you know, she just made everybody feel special. And I think that was a real gift that, you know, it'd be nice if everybody had. So that's all I wanted to say.
Hi, I'm Jackie. I'm Rosemary's daughter. And yes, we definitely lovingly called Phyllis Grandma Phyllis. And like my mom mentioned, my kids didn't have great-grandparents on my side of the family. So along with my Aunt Kay, who's from my mom's side, we had Grandma Phyllis on my dad's side, and we were always so grateful and so thankful for that. I would say my favorite memory was our last memory, which was, was at our house for Christmas. We actually, no one, well, I was about to say no one was sick. We had just had this stomach bug, my entire family, all 5 of us, and we were about to host Christmas with Grandma Phyllis. And I was so nervous. I am like, I can't have Grandma Phyllis come to our house and get sick and get the stomach bug and go home and it truly be her last Christmas. This can't be it. And so I cleaned my house like crazy. I think my cousin Thomas was like, oh, well, we're coming. Like, we're going. Like, that's where we're going for Christmas. I was like, you know, and just cleaning my house so well. Thankfully, Grandma Phyllis did not get sick. Veronica did. Your friend's almost took her to the hospital, but she was the only one, so that's good. Out of everyone that was there, our whole family was there. Even my cousins were able, like my husband's side, my kids' cousins on that side, and his sister were able to be there. So we just had so much family at the house on that Christmas, and it was just super special. It being at our home was really special to us. It was our new house, and being able to have Grandma there was so nice. So this was our 2019 Christmas, and the best memory I have of that night was Grandma singing, of course, but she sang "Let There Be Peace on Earth," and you know she likes to jazz up and change her lyrics. So as she was singing it, she kept changing. Instead of like "Let there be peace," "Let it begin with me," she kept saying like "Let it begin with us," and like moved her hand and was like just including all of us, and just like, I don't know, it was really moving. So we've watched that video a lot as a family, and it's really special. So we're grateful for all the times.
Yeah, I heard mentioned earlier we don't get this at home, which is always great. I mean, when we're together, we always say that line every couple of weeks from each other. Like, there's countless like throwback lines in our daily life because it was things Grandma Phyllis would say all the time. Like for when we were in Herndon in Northern Virginia, we had this like local place we go to get lunch. It's called like Virginia Kitchen. So that was a big we don't get this at home place, and it was a diner. Yeah, and she got, we bonded a lot over, she got diabetes later in life. I got diabetes when I was 3. And so whenever we're eating together, she's always like really, looking to me a bit for figuring out what to eat and what not to eat especially. But we had a really, kind of serious situation. I think it was like in 2019 even, like not too far back, where her blood sugars were really high. So I came up and I was like, okay, what's your doctor, saying? Okay, they're keeping you on the pills. Like, we really should have them reconsider giving you like actual insulin. And she seemed to feel like her doctor was sort of on autopilot a little bit. So we ended up finding a new endocrinologist, and then we kind of playfully referred her old doctor as Dr. Kevorkian, and that was always that was a fun laugh we had the last couple of years there. And we got her blood sugars under control, which is great. But yeah, she's she dealt with diabetes later in life, like such an incredibly strong woman. Especially I remember we first moved to Virginia, and she lost her husband, her brother, and her ex-husband within a couple of years, and her strength in getting through that and having 20 more joyous years after that is one of the most extraordinary things I've seen in person. I know. Yeah, we love her.
Hi everyone, I'm Betsy. I'm Grandma Phyllis's granddaughter-in-law. And so I was just gonna say, Grandma Phyllis brought her A game when it came to greeting cards.
Yes, she did.
And I remember receiving her greeting cards and opening it up and seeing words underlined and emphasized. And I would just read them based in her voice and her expression. And Grandma was always so expressive in words and also in how she shows it. And so when I'm with the Emmerichs, I tend to not like to be in photos, but I like to take a lot of photos of the family. And I just have so many photos of Grandma and her expressiveness of love and joy, and you just see it. Yes.
Of Phyllis. She took a photo of her when she won a contest.
With Grandma. And so Grandma, I always, she's my muse. I see her as my inspiration, and she was always so welcoming, especially when I first joined the family. So with that, I love Grandma, still think of her, and I'm very happy to celebrate with everyone here.
Great. So next I'd like my wonderful wife Grace to say a few words. Before she speaks, one thing I want to say, Mom, as far as not getting this at home, it wasn't just about food, it was shopping. She loved, for some reason, she loved our Sephora. And so she'd be like, I love your Sephora. We don't have this at home. Our Sephora has nothing in it, it has empty shelves. Your Sephora has everything, it's so she uses that for shopping too. Yes, Grace and I moved back to Binghamton in 2016 from Virginia, and I got a job with local Security Mutual. And I thought it was a great idea because I knew Mom was getting on in years, and Grace was not thrilled about moving to Binghamton. I can't say the opposite. But one of the big reasons that I told her was that my mom's getting on in years, and we're here kind of to help her. And while we lived here, every time we called my mom, she was going out with the girls, she was doing this, she was going shopping. At one point, Grace goes, I don't know why we're here. And I said, Well, we're here because eventually sometime, but eventually, I guess I'm telling her story, so I'll shut up and give it to her.
You just sang it. You just said everything I was gonna say.
Ditto.
Okay, so, yep, I didn't know why I was here until she passed, and then now I know why I was here. You know, I was not happy about coming back to Binghamton, and I was kind of miserable and depressed on and off, and went up and down and whatever, getting adjusted. I like to be close to my kids.
You live beneath like some sort of meth lab or something. Yes. What was going on upstairs?
No, downstairs was an iceberg.
Oh, okay.
No, when we lived at Ely Park Apartments, we were renting.
But in the towers, your neighbor was.
We don't know what was going on.
It was out of control. Right?
No, when we lived in Ely Park, I always heard this like gurgling and water, and basically there was like underneath the basement, there was like this water coming. I mean, I already know, I know when things are happening, and it's like, what is this? It's like,
Everybody is suspect.
So anyhow, I just knew that there was this, and it turned out like every winter we were there like 2 winters or less, whatever, 2 I think.
Felt like 20.
Felt like 20, but I'd have to call them, and they had to drain out the basement, and it was like they were like, "Oh, thank you for calling us because the ice would be breaking up through the floor." I'm serious, but that's another story. That's the point is, I was never, but you know what? The last year of Phyllis's life is true. Gave up her car, and I got really close with her because, you know, she had like 5 different specialists keeping her alive. You know, they were keeping her alive, and you know, we got really close during that time, and
Lots of doctors.
and I'm just saying, it was still like meant to be. It was like meant to be that I was there and we got close. So,
Yep.
I love her so much.
Good job. Debbie?
What about Mike's gotta say something?
Mike's got it.
Yeah, give it
I'm
to
gonna
Mike.
defer to Mike.
Give it to Mike. Mike's the comedian.
Yeah.
Well, I just got a short one. I have to thank the Emmerichs and the Montforts for some of my most unique relationships with people, and I'm sure you can all, you know exactly what I'm talking about. One winter, we were going down to see Ron and Grace in Herndon, and we were asked if we would give Phyllis a ride. So, thought it was a great idea, and I think it was you were in the car, right? Yeah, my daughter, my wife, myself, and then Phyllis. And Phyllis is riding shotgun. And it's a really, you know, before we left, we were kind of concerned because the weather was getting so bad. It was ice everywhere, lots of snow. And, you know, I thought, nah, let's just go for it. And Phyllis was like, yeah. So we went. And, I don't know, it was about 2-3 minutes into the trip. And we turned to Phyllis's favorite subject, her son, Ron. And she told, you know, we got talking, I don't even know how it started, but we were talking a little bit, and I asked a question, and she goes, well, you know, when Ron was 3, and we got past that. Well, by the time we hit Scranton, Ron had been confirmed. By Harrisburg, he had been in his first band, and he was in college. And we continued all the way. I gotta tell you, I mean, it was one of the more fun rides I've ever had in my life. I smiled the whole time. She never stopped talking. And not that that's a bad thing, because here I am, I'm white knuckling down these roads, and she's telling me all about Ron, and I'm thankful she's keeping me awake. Everything is great. But I got down to Ron's house, I walk in the door, and Ron says, you want something to drink? I said, yes. And then I looked up and I go, Ron, I know way more about you than I ever wanted to. And I thank her for all of it. It was great.
everybody? Did I miss anybody?
I want to hear some music now.
Okay.
Another hour.
Hunter doesn't say.
Yeah, I'll say something.
Hi, Dennis.
Yeah, Grandma Phyllis. Not my grandmother, like my sister said. But we all called her Grandma Phyllis, right? You know, she was always a big self-esteem booster for me. In the way that, you know, it's, oh, you're so handsome. Oh, you're so tall. Oh, you're so good looking. Like, it was just non-stop. All the time. Like, you know. Yeah, that was great. Love that. Yeah, and she'll be missed, especially at our family events, for sure. I spent, you know, a long time in Germany, and I recently got back, and then COVID hit, so nobody was seeing each other, and so I missed out on a lot of those Christmases and Thanksgiving, but I was home for a few of them.
Yeah.
And yeah, there'll always be special memories for me.
Okay, we're gonna set up and play a few songs and just to celebrate my mom, because every time we got together with her, we'd be playing music. So give us a couple minutes and we'll play just a few songs to remember mom. But thank you everybody for sharing. This is great. This is and then we're going to put the pictures back on. And again, want to thank on behalf of our family. And I know that Mom is looking down, and this is wonderful that we have everybody gathered and honoring. So thank you very much.